I just chose kickboxing because it was the only gym I could run to. And my mother and father split up. And I loved my father with all my heart, but chess doesn't pay that much. And he loves booze and gambling and women. So he was broke. When we were in England with my mother, the British social system gives you a government housing. So we were on welfare effectively.
They called him the Top G. The invincible, self-made billionaire who promised to free his followers from the Matrix. He had the Bugattis, the compound, the aura of undeniable, untouchable success. But here is the shocking reality. Everything he built, every single thing you saw, was resting on an elaborate, pathological lie. And the most insane part? He confessed to his own downfall, years before it ever happened. Think about that for a second. The most polarizing man on the internet, arrested in Romania on charges of organized crime and human trafficking, the exact crimes he publicly described as his old business model. We're not talking about subtle hints. We're talking about direct, on-camera claims where he detailed a scheme designed to get women to fall in love with me, and then use that influence to get her on webcam to make money. He even boasted about teaching this exact, allegedly exploitative, model to others. When the police finally came, the invincible man's defense was predictable: I'm being framed. It's an attack by the Matrix.
The Matrix has attacked me.
He desperately needs you to believe that the world conspired to take him down. But what if the whole persona, the titles, the wealth, the champion status, was all a sophisticated house of cards? For the next 20 minutes, we are going to expose the complete, coordinated collapse of Andrew Tate's empire. We'll detail the manufactured lies about his past, the shady move to Eastern Europe, the viral scam that turned his fans into an army, and the dark, allegedly criminal enterprises that brought his whole world crashing down. This is the ultimate irony of his fall. This is the truth behind the downfall of Top G. The whole story of Andrew Tate is built on one simple rule: if you repeat a lie long enough, it eventually becomes the truth. He had to construct this towering, unbreakable image, the Top G who beat the system. But when you look closer, the whole foundation is just garbage. He's not just a liar about big things, he's a straight-up pathological liar, even about the minute details. Let's start with one of the pillars of his intellectual persona, chess. Tate constantly talks about chess, using it as a metaphor for his life and strategy. And his ultimate claim to strategic genius always rested on his father, the late Andrew Tate, whom Andrew repeatedly called a chess grandmaster. Now, a grandmaster is one of the highest ranks in the world, with only about 2,000 in existence. It's an impressive, almost mythical title. But here is the truth: Andrew Tate was never a grandmaster. He was, very respectably, an international master, which is one rank below. Tate even contradicted himself in later clips, admitting his father was an international master.
Your father was a chess grandmaster, right?
He was. In fact, he was an international master, which is the one rank below grandmaster.
This tiny lie only serves one purpose: to try and make his past seem more interesting and inspiring than it really was. It's a pathological need to exaggerate everything, including claiming he was the under-16 Indiana State chess champion at age 5, which is completely contradicted by records. But the biggest lie, the one that gave him that essential aura of toughness, was his world champion kickboxer status. We've all heard it: Andrew Tate, 4-time world champion.
I had willpower when I was playing chess. I had willpower when I was kickboxing to make sure I trained as hard as humanly possible to become a 4-time world champion.
We've all heard it: Andrew Tate, 4-time world champion. You hear world champion, you picture Mike Tyson, or an Olympic gold medalist. But let's look at the belts. Andrew Tate's world titles came from organizations like ISKA and Infusion. While any belt is an achievement, neither of these organizations is recognized as elite-level competition like Glory or K1 in its heyday. One of the most accomplished kickboxers of Tate's generation, Gabriel Varga, admitted he hadn't even heard of Andrew Tate before he became a famous content creator. His fighting record wasn't against the best of the best, and he is essentially what the fighting world calls a paper champion. It's like me claiming to be an undefeated pro boxer after beating my little brother in a pillow fight. Is it technically true? Sure. Is it as impressive as it sounds? Absolutely not. And finally, the most disrespectful lie of all, one he keeps repeating: that his iconic, bald head is a choice. He claims he shaves it 3 times a week and could grow a full head of hair. It's a ridiculous claim he uses to protect the image of an invincible man in complete control. But then, he was arrested and held in jail for months. He didn't have a razor. And when he eventually appeared in court, the internet got a very clear look at what happens when the Top G doesn't shave. That is not the hairline of a man who chooses to be bald. Why does any of this matter? Because when a public figure lies to you about their father's chess rank, their kickboxing career, and whether they can grow hair, it should make you question the big stories. It should make you question the narrative he sold you about why he ran away from the West and into the arms of the criminal justice system. Because the true reason he left the UK wasn't to fight the Matrix. It was a much darker, far more personal secret. Now that we know the truth behind the run to Romania, a flight from legal trouble, not a battle with the Matrix, we have to look at what he did once he got there. Because this is where the persona of the freedom-fighting entrepreneur totally dissolves, and the alleged criminal operation takes its final, horrifying shape. Andrew Tate needed a very specific business model to work in a country where he believed the law could be bent. He wasn't relying on a standard tech startup, he was allegedly relying on a deeply manipulative and frankly cruel system, one he had openly called the Loverboy method. This is not speculation, this is how he described it, essentially boasting about a psychological blueprint for coercion. The entire premise, which he packaged and sold as a course, was about using emotional manipulation to gain total control. He would talk about meeting a woman, building a rapport, and crucially, getting her to believe she was in love with him. Why? Because, in his own words, once she was in love, she would do anything he asked.
As a master manipulator, I know when someone's trying to manipulate. So when she wants you to agree with her, when she wants you to say yes, she nods. When she wants you to say no, she shakes her head. She gives you the visual prompt. I went into it naively, and she does this.
It's chilling because this wasn't about a relationship, it was allegedly a meticulously planned corporate onboarding process. Once the woman was psychologically compromised and financially dependent, the transition would begin. She would be moved into the compound, often under the guise of starting a new, exciting life or career, and then, allegedly, her entire financial and social life would be dismantled and brought under his direct control. This is the heart of the prosecution's case. The alleged victims weren't coerced through physical force initially, but through a slow, deliberate process of grooming and isolation. The goal was to transition these women onto the highly lucrative webcam and content creation platforms, specifically, OnlyFans and other services. And while many might look at this and say, that's just a shady business, the key word here is control. Because once inside the system, the women allegedly found that the money they earned wasn't theirs. Their phones and accounts were allegedly taken. Their movement was restricted. They were now working for him, not with him. The whole thing was a sophisticated funnel. The glamorous image of Top G attracted the attention, the Loverboy method provided the psychological hook, and the move to Romania provided the legal environment he believed was safe enough to run an operation that authorities around the world had long flagged as a serious crime. But how did he manage to find so many people willing to join this dark enterprise, and how did he keep the whole scheme invisible for so long? The answer is the very platform that made him famous. Because the true engine of his alleged trafficking operation wasn't a dark alley or a secretive website. It was the brightest, most mainstream app on the planet, an app you probably use every single day. The funnel started on TikTok. The system of control we just talked about, the Loverboy method, is sinister, but it only works if you can find enough people. And that leads us to the most shocking aspect of his downfall, the recruitment tool. Andrew Tate didn't need to be physically out there looking for people. His alleged victims came to him. Because he did something no alleged criminal before him had done on this scale, he weaponized the fastest-growing social media platform on Earth. In 2022, his content wasn't just viral, it was an epidemic. His clips dominated TikTok, generating billions of views. To the outside world, this looked like smart marketing. But to investigators, this massive, global megaphone was the largest and most effective human trafficking funnel the internet had ever seen. Here's how it allegedly worked. The glamorous persona, the Bugattis, the freedom, the promise of a life outside the 9-to-5 grind drew people in. Young women, particularly those looking for opportunity, a fresh start, or financial independence, were naturally attracted to the lifestyle. They would reach out, or they would be contacted after expressing interest in his content. The initial approach was never about webcam work or exploitation. It was always masked as a legitimate business opportunity modeling for the Top G brand, helping manage his massive social media presence, or contributing content for his sites. They were sold a dream of becoming part of an unstoppable empire. But the moment they landed at the Romanian compound, the dream allegedly turned into a nightmare. This is the bait and switch that sits at the core of the organized crime charges. The allegations claim that instead of being colleagues or models, the women found themselves isolated. Their phones and accounts were allegedly seized, their earnings were funneled into Tate's accounts, and their movement was restricted. The alleged victims became, in the eyes of the prosecution, just another resource for his content creation business, a resource that was now completely controlled. Think about the devastating irony. The men who constantly preached about escaping the matrix and achieving total freedom was allegedly running a sophisticated operation whose sole purpose was to lure people into a state of total, financial, and psychological enslavement. But if the walls were closing in, and they were trapped, why didn't they speak out? Why didn't they leave? Because the control wasn't just psychological. Investigators allege he had a series of escalating, powerful tactics, some psychological, some incredibly physical, designed to keep the victims silent and compliant. And that takes us to the darkest claims of all. We have to talk about the chilling testimony of the alleged victims, the isolation, the micromanagement, and the practice that literally branded some of them as his property. When the women arrived at the compound, the initial seduction, the lover-boy facade ended, and the alleged manipulation began. This is where the story moves from financial scam to something far more calculated and sinister, a systematic erosion of a person's will. If you want to ensure compliance, you need two things: isolation and ownership. And the indictment details a terrifying set of tactics allegedly used to achieve both. First, isolation. Alleged victims testified that their movements were severely restricted. They were reportedly unable to leave the house without permission, and guards would sometimes pretend not to understand even when asked directly in Romanian using a translation app. Andrew Tate himself, in older clips, openly boasted about this strategy of containment, stating that he would keep the women stuck in their house sitting there bored, and that they were not allowed out to places like clubs or restaurants. The intent was clear: make them completely dependent on their captor. As one alleged victim described her time working for the Tates, she felt like an animal deprived of human rights who had no control over what she was doing. Second, the mark of ownership. If isolation controlled their bodies, the final step was allegedly to claim their identities. Tate openly and repeatedly bragged about his ability to convince women to tattoo his name on their bodies. He claimed to have successfully persuaded 22 different women to do this, even suggesting that the tattoo was the most important part of the entire dynamic. Getting the girl is the first 10% of the game. Having a girl tattoo your name on you on her is other 90%. The imagery is chilling. One tattoo read "Dedicated to King Tate," and another simply said Tate owned.
Got some trick, like I tricked the girl or I forced the girl. It's really not like that. Respect is a huge part of it. Girls are proud of my name to the point where they're happy to put my name on it. But the other thing is the thing we talked about earlier about how there's no good girls, and how if you tell a girl she's not a good girl, how much it bothers her. And that's about 90% of the tattoo game. I'll say to the girl, "Well, you're serious about it." She goes, "Yeah, I'm serious." I said, "Why don't you tattoo my name on it?" "Well, because we're gonna split up." I said, "Well, I thought you were serious." "Well, I am." "Are you gonna cheat?" "No, I'm not gonna cheat, but you might cheat." "So what? So if I talk to a girl, you're gonna leave me?" "That's not, I thought you were loyal." "Well, I am loyal." "So then if you're loyal to me and you're a good girl, and you do as I say, why are we going to split up?" "Well, we're not." Then what's the problem with the tattoo?" It's pretty simple logic.
Yeah,
And then one day they walk in, "Surprise, look what I did for you."
This alleged practice echoes a dark, historical form of control often associated with human trafficking, a permanent, public mark of captivity. Andrew Tate's public defense of all these actions is that his business was just a normal webcam studio where he helped women make money on TikTok. He claims there are no victims and that the entire case is a joke and a matrix attack. But the psychological toll, according to victim testimony, was immense. One woman stated that after a relationship with him, she was left with constant pain and guilt, and was unable to have a normal romantic relationship or even trust people. The sheer weight of this evidence, 7 alleged victims, 5 of whom provided detailed testimonies, alongside the Tate's own electronic communications and prior public confessions, began to prove that this wasn't satire, an act, or a joke. It was, according to the Romanian indictment, a coordinated, organized crime operation.
It was when the incident happened. So we were having sex and he strangled me until I passed out. And then when I came back around, he was still having sex with me while I'd been passed out. So that was when the incident happened, yeah.
And then, the real world finally came knocking. The irony is that the moment of his arrest was not the dramatic, self-predicted battle with the Matrix. It was something far more mundane, and far more stupid, than he ever could have imagined. As the investigation intensified and the world finally started to see the overwhelming evidence against him, Andrew Tate's behavior became erratic, and his defense strategy transitioned from simple denial to a coordinated, global disinformation campaign. He needed a new narrative, and he wasn't afraid to weaponize anything, even a disease, to get it. The most shocking lie he ever told for sympathy points was the claim that he was battling lung cancer. Suddenly, the invincible Top G was, for his followers, a martyr fighting for his life, allegedly. Targeted by the system while on his deathbed. It was a perfect piece of manipulative theater, designed to divert attention from the horrific details of the indictment and garner sympathy from his massive, loyal fan base. This claim, like his others, was quickly debunked by multiple sources. This desperation wasn't just limited to seeking sympathy. The transcript notes that his campaign of self-defense even stooped as low as suing his own alleged victims in an attempt to silence them and keep their testimonies out of the public eye. The goal was to prove the central thesis of his entire persona, that he was a powerful, global target. He constantly screamed, "The Matrix has attacked me." But here is the legendary, almost comedic irony of the entire saga. The all-powerful, omnipresent Matrix didn't catch him with a high-tech surveillance operation or a dramatic raid. It allegedly caught him because of a pizza box. Rewind to December 2022. Andrew Tate, in the middle of a globally viral feud with environmental activist Greta Thunberg, decided to post a video mocking her and climate activists. In the clip, he sat at a desk, delivered his rant, and then, in a specific, careless moment, he told someone off camera, "Please bring me pizza and make sure that these boxes are not recycled." He was then handed a stack of boxes clearly showing the branding of a local Romanian chain, Jerry's Pizza. The rumor immediately exploded across the internet. The Matrix finally found him because he confirmed his exact location in Romania via pizza delivery. While Romanian authorities later denied that the pizza boxes were the sole, direct piece of evidence leading to his arrest, they did acknowledge the post was used to confirm he was in the country. The man who claimed to be 10 steps ahead of the system, the master chess player who predicted every move, was taken down by the mundane, unrecycled packaging of his late-night dinner. The arrest happened just hours later, on suspicion of human trafficking, rape, and forming an organized crime group. But even in handcuffs, the game wasn't over. In fact, the arrest became the ultimate fuel for his narrative. The persecution myth was now real, and he used that perceived injustice to launch the most successful, viral scam of his career. Because while Andrew Tate was in jail, locked away, his entire affiliate army was still out there, tirelessly fighting his battles and selling his courses. And that, in the next part of our story, is where he truly turned his fans into a weapon. The jail cell might have stopped Andrew Tate's physical movements, but it could not stop the machine he had already built. In fact, his arrest became the ultimate marketing material. While the self-proclaimed top G was locked away, his financial engine, his affiliate army, continued to run, tirelessly selling his vision to the world. This powerful financial engine and source of influence was Hustlers University, later renamed the Real World. Andrew Tate revolutionized what is known as the fake guru game by creating an online course that sold for $50 a month, promising young men the knowledge to escape the matrix and achieve financial freedom.
Don't be impressed that I got 30,000 people to join HU. Be impressed that I keep 30,000 people subscribed. That means 30,000 people are making more than they invest. Making more money than they invest each month. No traditional school does that. No traditional university does that. They rip you off, take all your money, and they don't give you anything back.
The genius of this operation was the affiliate marketing program. His followers, who were members of his course, were encouraged to post the most outrageous and viral clips of Tate across platforms like TikTok and YouTube. In return, when someone signed up for the course using a member's affiliate link, that member would earn a small commission for each new sign-up. The ultimate irony of this system is that it essentially convinced his followers to pay him $50 a month just for the privilege of marketing his content, while they were being paid scraps in commission on the back end. This highly leveraged affiliate marketing strategy is the only reason anyone even knows who Andrew Tate is in the first place. To fuel this system and maintain the viral army, Tate employed a consistent fear-mongering sales pitch designed to compel vulnerable young men to buy his proposed solution. He constantly spouted rhetoric that every system in modern society, the educational, financial, judicial, and medical systems, was a scam designed to collapse.
With someone about how pointless the modern education system is. I think the modern education system is nothing but an indoctrination machine. I think they use it to indoctrinate the youth. I think it's a waste of fucking time.
What, to brainwash people?
To brainwash people, of course they do.
He warned that the future for a law-abiding man inside the matrix is nothing but depressing, destined for debt, divorce, joblessness, and inflation outpacing wages. This narrative was specifically structured to scare young people into believing his course was the only solution to escape this inevitable fate. Yet, despite making more money than most ever will, he was thrown in a jail cell for what he claimed was a Matrix attack, a situation that ironically suggests he hadn't even escaped the Matrix himself by his own definition. When you build an entire empire on the idea that the Matrix is trying to silence you, what happens when real legal systems actually succeed? The physical arrest was only the beginning of Andrew and Tristan Tate's true downfall. Building an entire empire on the idea that the Matrix is trying to silence you only gives your enemies more ammunition when they actually succeed in silencing you through legitimate legal means. The brothers, alongside 2 associates, have been formally charged in Romania with human trafficking and forming an organized crime group. The indictment clearly alleges a systemic exploitation where women were recruited under the false pretenses of the loverboy method, promises of a romantic relationship and even marriage, and then forced into making explicit content for financial gain. One victim's terrifying testimony described her experience as being an animal deprived of human rights, who had no control over what she was doing, with multiple accounts confirming the restriction of the women's movement and freedom as a form of control. Andrew Tate has publicly attempted to defend himself with the TikTok lie, claiming the case is only about helping women gain followers for money. However, the indictment confirms the severity of the situation. TikTok was allegedly used as a sales funnel to direct customers to explicit content sites like OnlyFans. Crucially, the Tates allegedly maintained systematic control over the women's explicit account passwords, ensuring that the majority of the revenue went directly to the organized crime group rather than the women themselves. Compounding their legal woes in Romania, a second indictment is reportedly being prepared, expected to include devastating new charges of money laundering, trafficking in minors, and additional human trafficking. Globally, the consequences are also mounting, as the UK has issued an arrest warrant for both Andrew and Tristan for separate charges of sexual aggression. Adding to his peril, Andrew has been served with a UK civil lawsuit that includes allegations of rape and sexual assault. The implication is clear: regardless of the outcome of the ongoing Romanian trial, the Tates are widely expected to be extradited to the UK to face these additional criminal charges. He preached that he had a powerful mental model to see the future and navigate the system, but his arrest, the international warrants, and the overwhelming evidence from his own words and his alleged victims, prove the ultimate, crushing irony of his entire career. Andrew Tate wanted to be known as Morpheus, the liberator of men who had achieved enlightenment outside of the Matrix.
Chilling in Dubai. This is what happens when you're outside the Matrix. You're geographically free. Anyone who's watched the Matrix carefully understands that the people inside of the Matrix realize that something isn't right, so they escape the Matrix. Once they've escaped the Matrix, they realize how the Matrix works, and they plug back into the Matrix with new powers. And then they hack the Matrix, and then they escape again. That's what I do.
He preached tirelessly about the necessity of building a powerful mental model that would allow his followers to see into the future, predict the system's moves, and navigate their way to total freedom. He insisted that his entire arrest and indictment was a Matrix attack, a necessary punishment for the one man who dared to speak the truth. But here is the final, crushing truth that his legacy cannot escape: the Matrix narrative was a complete, documented lie. His legal troubles didn't begin after he became the most famous man on the planet in the summer of 2022. They began months earlier, in April 2022, with a police report about the unlawful deprivation of liberty, long before his global fame could have triggered any large-scale political conspiracy. The system didn't catch him for speaking out against power, it caught him for the alleged criminal actions he had been confessing to for years. The ultimate, unavoidable irony of Andrew Tate's downfall is that while he claimed to be Morpheus, fighting to free people from the digital prison, his actions proved he was far more like Agent Smith. Morpheus offers freedom and truth. Andrew Tate allegedly perpetuated control, lies, and manipulation on a mass scale. He is the physical embodiment of the corruption and dishonesty that he claimed to be fighting against, using his own followers as a viral weapon for his own profit, and allegedly running a scheme that promised women opportunity only to leave them, according to testimony, as animals deprived of human rights. Andrew Tate's downfall is not a Matrix attack. It is a consequence. It is the inescapable price of building an entire world on self-aggrandizing lies, pathological exaggeration, and a documented history of promoting exploitation. His powerful mental model failed him. His kingdom of cards collapsed when faced with the undeniable weight of his own words and the testimony of his alleged victims. He claimed to oppose what the Matrix stood for, but in the end, by his own alleged actions, he proved to be the problem all along. And that, from the paper champion status and the fake cancer claims, to the pizza box that sealed his fate and the affiliate army he weaponized, is the true, comprehensive story of the rise and fall of Andrew Tate. What does his story tell us about the influencers we follow and the viral truths we accept? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video if you want more deep dives into the dark corners of internet culture.